This is part 2 of our interview with Jack Scharr, and it's going to focus on the Olympics. Jack, you rub shoulders with many of these athletes and know them on a personal level as well. Not only are they people who we all admire, you know them as personal friends. Can you give us a peek behind the curtain? What are they really like?
Well, some of these great athletes are the nicest people to work with. Everybody would love them. And if I may, I'll tell you a quick story about one of the athletes that just really touched my heart. The more I heard about him, the more I learned about him. What a tremendous guy he was. And his name was Al Arter. And you talk about modesty. Al Arter started throwing the discus. He told me that in a race that he had, he was on the track team in high school, and a discus came across the track. And he picked it up and threw it back to the discus throwers. And he had thrown it so far, the discus coach came over to him and said, "I want you to come and try out for the discus. This is incredible, the way you threw that." So he became a discus thrower in high school. And but here's the story that I want to tell you. He comes home one day. His father couldn't come to the track meet. It was a major track meet. And he said to Al, "How did you do?" And Al said, "Well, I did good." And his dad said, "Well, how good?" "Well, I won." "You won? And how did you throw?" And I think he threw 165 feet, which is an incredible mark for a high school student to throw that far. And his dad said, "Wow, that's a long way. Was that a school record?" Al said, "Yes." He said, "Well, is it a national record?" And Al said, "Yes, for an amateur, it's a national record." I mean, you and I would have been jumping up and down saying, Dad, look what I did. I won the event. I set a record. I did fabulous." But he was so modest, so laid back, that he's just really downplaying this great achievement. Well, Al went on in the Olympics. And in 1956, he competed in the Olympic Games and won the gold medal. He went in, he was only 20 years old, went in, not even expected to medal, and he won the gold through like 190 feet, which was incredible in those days. So he competed again in the 1960 Olympic Games. And again, he went in, he wasn't the favorite. Other people had broken the old records and had new records, and Al wasn't expected to win. He won a second gold medal. He was so determined. They said when he would walk out there, you couldn't even talk to him. He was so focused on what he wanted to do. He would grab the discus and just move forward. It was an incredible thing to watch. So this is 2 gold medals, which had been done before, but now he goes into the next games. So now we're in 1964, Japan. And Al goes into this game. He had fallen and he had cracked a rib. Well, you can imagine when you're throwing the discus with a cracked rib, wow. You know, how can you do it? It would hurt so bad that how can you really compete? And they really didn't expect him to compete well at all. So his first 4 throws were very modest, didn't place much. And he knew he only really had one more throw in him because his rib hurt so bad. So after he would throw in the early throws, he would be on his knees holding his ribs. So he stood up, he focused himself, and he just let it loose for this, I think it was the 5th throw. And he threw 200 feet. Well, that's a new Olympic record. And no one else, these other people that were holding the records and doing well, couldn't throw that far. And he won his 3rd gold medal. So now we're at the 1968 Games. And Al Arter comes again as the underdog. Other people are supposed to win the gold medal. And he gets in the box, gets focused, and threw like 212 feet, a new Olympic record, a world record. The guy was just incredible. No one could believe how he did. He won 4 consecutive gold medals. Never been done before, never been done since in the Olympic Games. What an incredible man Al Arter is. It's just amazing. And what a neat guy to meet and talk to, and so modest, so, well, it wasn't that big of a deal. It was a huge deal. And he still holds that record. Al has now passed away, but still has the record of being the only athlete to win in 4 Olympics, 4 consecutive gold medals.
Wow, that's some achievement. Here's a courageous, physically strong man who maintained his perspective and his humility at the same time.
And totally focused on what he was doing.
Totally focused. That demonstrates remarkable courage and grit. Al Arter was a great Olympian gold medalist 4 times, you said. We'll be right back.
Knowing how to turn knowledge into wisdom is brain fuel. And you can pour that fuel into your head with the help of Brain Pathways. With the complete Brain Pathways assessment, you will uncover even more parts of your mind. Go to aimyoursights.com/brain to find out what you were created to do. You'll become wiser now rather than later.
Jack, we're back. And you just told us an incredible story about Al Arter.
Right.
What about other athletes, other men and women you've had the privilege of getting to know on a personal level?
Yes. Another art athlete that has become a really good friend of mine, Bill Toomey. Bill and I, from the first time we met, kind of hit it off, became friends. And Bill tells a wonderful story. He competed in the 1968 Olympic Games. And Bill talks about coming onto the field. And early on in these competitions, you're given a couple days to train on the venues. And so Bill, the day before the Olympics began, was going through different jumps and pole vaults and runs and hurdles. And as you know, the decathlon is 10 different Olympic sports. When you win the decathlon, you are the world's greatest athlete. And that's what they put to you, because you've won 10 categories of the Olympics. So Bill has finished his little workout that day and is cutting across the field going back to his room. Carrying his gym bag, he's in street clothes, and he's walking across, and 2 Germans were the favorites for the decathlon. They were the guys that were supposed to win first and second place, and if Toomey was lucky, maybe he would squeeze into third or not even medal. So he's cutting across the field, and the Germans are still on the track, and they're in the pole vault area. Well, the pole vault was Toomey's weakest sport. And so one of the Germans pole vaults higher than Toomey had ever gone in the Olympics, and gets up and says, "Toomey, see that?" And he just shakes his head, and he looks at them, and he looks at the high jump, which is right close to where the pole vault is. And he walks over to the high jump, he sets the bar, sets down his bag, and in street clothes, high jumps higher than either one of these guys had ever done. That was Toomey's best sport.
That is outrageous.
Well, he went on to even set a world's record in another area of the 10 areas. But he dusts himself off and walks in, and he turns back and looks at them, and he says, "See you tomorrow." Well, the next day when the 10 events start, Toomey goes on to win the gold medal in the decathlon. These guys were trying to psych him out, and he, in turn, kind of psyched them out. Through his confidence and ability and focus on what he wanted to do, he won the gold medal. And it was a tremendous feat for him to beat these two German guys. Both of these German guys have gone on, and Toomey's become friends with these guys. They had a reunion not too long ago, and they were both there. And they're all buddies now. But it is total competition when you're in the Olympic Games. As Bill described to me, when these Olympic athletes come together, you're bringing together the top athletes in the world in each of these categories. And anybody could stand up and win. It takes confidence, dedication, and of course a lot of ability to win, but Toomey won the gold medal.
Coming up is a very exciting part 3 of our interview with Jack Scharr.